Hey folks, welcome to the end of week wrap up and Q&A. Mark's over on down that way, finishing up an important conversation with Tim and coordinating about testing and stuff. So he'll be here in a few minutes to read you the top 10-ish list and give you the end of week update and answer questions.
Are you talking to people?
Yeah, here's Tyler.
Because Mark's busy talking.
Yep.
Wait, oh, okay.
So, oh yes, and these boxes were sent to us by the lovely backer Poxer,
Hey, wait,
who I have to let know that we're going to be opening them, and Tyler's using the ball pit.
some of you may know me from previous live streams.
You're infamous.
This is actually now the kids' entertainment corner.
Right. When people bring their kids into the office,
Whoever made that little dance thing, that little...
That's what they do. Oh, the GIF?
Yeah.
I think that was Zadrid or somebody.
My daughter's only 6, so she doesn't use it as something to make fun of me, but I'm sure if I had a teenager, she'd be like, Dad, you're an idiot.
I love how every time I move the camera, you move out of frame, but that's fine.
All right, let me go get Mark. Okay, he's coming.
He's coming. He knows. He knows. But yeah, we're gonna open the boxes after the stream. But here comes Mark. So here we go.
Hey, good afternoon, all. Hope you've all had a good day. We've had a really good day here. Lots of interesting news from our end. Lots of interesting news in the MMO space. So, yeah, very good day. Been an interesting, fun, challenging, cool week. And yeah, let's go to the top 10, then Q&A, and may know at the end of this whether we'll have a test today. We're trying to line up 2 tests. We'll see if we get 2. If we get 1, there's a chance we won't get any, but we'll know more in the next hour or 2. So I'll talk about that and then I'll go through the top 10. So what we're lining up for you folks, whether it's today or next week, are potentially 3 tests. The one that won't be today definitely is the 7 Island test. As I've been telling you folks, spinning that up costs us a reasonable amount of money every hour, and we want to be able to take that cost down before we leave it up for an entire weekend. So we hope to be testing that next week with our IT folks first, then alpha, and maybe even beta to test jumping around all the islands. So that's for next week. For this week, we're working on 2 tests for you folks. The first one is essentially a crafting test. There's other stuff to test as well, but the highlight of it is the crafting system on the fledgling. With, I don't know if have the alpha folks seen the map with the ramp? I don't think so.
I don't know. I don't think so. Folks have.
So yeah, this will be a new island for you guys to look at, as well as a ramp to jump off. Might wonder why I say that. Jump off it, jump, don't run off it, and you'll see why. But we're hoping to have that one done. Apologies in advance. The crafting system, even though you can go from beginning to end on making a block, we're still using slash commands. Though we did say that we would have only slash commands in beta 1, we are on our way to having a UI for it before beta 1. Yeah, when was the last time you heard that out of us? Hey, we might be ahead of schedule. Really? Don't believe it. But hopefully we'll certainly have that before the beginning of beta 1. The second test that we hope to have as well is a VFX test. I don't know if we're going to have that one. As you can imagine, putting together a pretty much brand new VFX system. Comes with its own challenges. George and the team have been meeting those challenges, but we'll see if we'll meet them all in time for a test today. If not, certainly next week, especially since Mr. Meggs is heading out to Seattle next week to spend a week with the team, which is going to be great for the Seattle guys, great for us here in Virginia, because being able to be right next to George and the senior guys out there is only going to result in good things for both studios. So very excited about that. So those are the two tests. Just so you know, the VFX test is currently set in the autumn biome. We've got lots of pretty lights and particles, all early stuff. Don't expect, oh my God, where's the finished particle effects? These are all designed. The current effects are just designed to, to be things that we could get out quickly that would test various aspects of the system. So let's go to the top 10-ish, which I think is 14 or 15 today. What was it?
14, I believe. 14.
So number one, and the other thing that before I get to that, why it's also good news, that has happened in the last 24 hours. The folks at Improbable just got a huge influx of cash from SoftBank. Those are the folks who are making the spatial OS that some of our fellow MMO developers are using, excuse me. And so seeing not only our vision, and that's the vision of the studio, but your folks' vision in backing an MMO, boy, that just got another validation. So it's really nice to see that, especially for us, since, hey, we're making our own engine. And, when we started this process, just as I'm sure the founder, of Improbable was thinking, this is hard. We know it's hard, but we want to accomplish a certain mission. For those folks, it was to build an engine that can be used for a lot of different things. In our case, it was certainly not only to build an engine that would be great for our game, but also to build a great game. And as you folks who backed us from the beginning know, there was some controversy about it. Should you back an MMO on Kickstarter, and how can we make our own engine, and why the heck are we using our own engine? Well, boy, we're starting to prove exactly, why we're using our own engine, and seeing investors, especially the folks at SoftBank, look at that and go, yeah, this space is really interesting to us. That makes us really happy, and it validates you as backers as well as us and me as investor, in my belief in the company and the team. So good news all around. Top 10-ish. Number one, terrain optimizations. So that's a big one, lots of words. This is something that we're continuing to work on, whether it's fixing bugs, getting better performance. It's all about, once again, using something that, very few companies have, which is procedurally generated terrain on the fly. There are plenty of tools that you can build that you can build terrain for, and then it's imported in the game as a height map or something like that. We are actually generating all our terrain on the fly, and that's really cool. And optimizing that is something we're going to be doing forever. Seamless zone transitions. So yeah, more of that went in. It was going in. Having the ability to move between servers when these servers are physical machines that can be located anywhere in the world. That's pretty cool tech. We're making great progress with that. That's part of course, the 7-island test. Particle performance improvements. So this is a big one. We've said from the beginning, that once we were able to talk about the animation system being in a state that Andrew could move off it, and the particle effects system being in a state so that George can move on to other things, as their primary focus. Focuses?
Sure.
Whatever. Having those in place before we could announce the start of Beta 1, crucial. So that's what George has been working on. There are 3 major stages to particle effect systems. We've been working on, or George and Dave and Andrew as well last night, we're working on optimizing the first 2 stages. The final stage, the animation stage, that is slated for optimization next. So we expect to see even better performance than we are, getting now, with a lot more flexibility than in typical particle systems. And if I told you how many particles George believes we'll be able to have at the end of the day, you wouldn't believe me. So don't want to hype it, but expect that what you're seeing now, and hopefully what you'll see either this weekend or early next week, that amount of particles drop in the bucket. Absolutely drop in the bucket. Next, position persistence. Yeah, this is an easy one. We need to have persistent characters in the game, and their location is kind of central to that. We now save that information. Yeah, not what seems like a big deal, but given our zone setup and island setup, a little bit trickier. So yeah, that's in. Global scale crafting time. So being able to globally scale things is one of the absolute call-outs of the documents I've been writing, as well as other documents like the crafting doc and others. What that means is we need to be able to change a whole bunch of stuff about the game while the game is running. And this isn't about hot fixes or, even though that would work as well, but it's just the ability of us to have a test. And we say, okay, guys, for the next 5 minutes, you'll be able to craft at the same pace you would do in the finished game. Then type a couple of commands and switch it to something else, and then switch it to something else, and just keep on, moving things around during these tests, so you guys and gals can give us the best feedback. Again, doesn't seem like a really sexy thing, but it's absolutely crucial to the test process, at least when you're testing the way we are, which is we want your folks' involvement. We have been saying that all throughout, this last year, and that is one of the things that can help that performance. Help that process, because if you have to log out every time, well, that gets really old, right? That gets boring. It's like, okay, guys, we want to restart, and we're resetting a few things. Yawn, boredom, anger after a while. So we want a lot of this stuff to be able to be set by us while we are within the game, so we don't have to worry about rebooting. Next, portal updates. So yeah, as part of being able to move between the 7 islands, we need the portals to function even better. So now we fixed a couple bugs, and now it's working really well. Next, tech design, recipe crafting. So this is something that I've been focusing on for the most of this week, which, by the way, so I don't have, because I'm not having to worry about the lease or the office in Seattle or anything else. It's been so nice. I've been so happy. I actually get to work on design, maybe not full-time, but a heck of a lot more than I was, over the last few months. So, yeah, crafting. So Christina and I have been working on, again, a very easy way of importing things and changing things. So that's actually in now. We had, as always, when you're testing new tech, you have things that take a little bit longer. Sometimes it was on my end, sometimes it was on another end. It doesn't matter. But now it's in, and it's working great. So they should be in the current build, 239 bits of wood, all set, all ready to be used by you folks. Same in terms of resource nodes and the ability to set up spawners for them. I'm working with her on that, and with Ben to make it as easy as possible for Ben and I to design them, but also to auto-gen a lot of this stuff. That's, also a big time saver, and frankly, something we're going to need when the game launches anyway, because Ben and I aren't going to be designing every possible every possible resource node or spawner in the world. We need some randomness. We need certain lack of predictability. If you folks always know where the best bubbles are going to be, or anything above ground is going to be, that takes some of the challenge and the fun out of it. So I'm setting up a rules-based system that allows us to auto-gen things within my spreadsheet, which then will be very easy for us to codify, and that will be great. Next, I completed my first pass on the first 30 days of Beta 1 and passed it on to Tyler and Ben and Brittany for their comments. When that's done, I'll respond, make some edits, make some changes, then send it on to Andrew, and then we'll talk about this stuff. This is going to be the roadmap for you folks for not only what we're going to be doing for the remainder of the time until beta, but also what you're going to be able to see and do while you're in beta. This is not a simple checklist like we have now. This is a much more complicated doc with, I think it was 33 pages in the last rev. So for those of you who've been wondering, gee, when is CSE going to give us more information? And, you know, boy, are you going to share information with us about what's going on for Beta 1? That should give you an idea that, yeah, the answer is yes. And this document will also talk about not only what is going to be ready for Beta 1, but what we have in the pipeline just after the start of Beta 1. Next, we move on to art, additional helmets. So John was sick, but he continued to work and turn out some really good stuff. And so I don't know if you saw his stream earlier this week. There'll be a link to it in today's update. Next, additional environmental assets. So not the most exciting work, but Deanna's been clocking out stumps and logs and twigs and branches. Yeah, you know, again, not terribly exciting. On the other hand, it gives you folks what you've been waiting for, a world. And, you know, a world that actually feels like a world and not just like, you know, boy, a demo of tech, or even, you know, programmer art, or even just something we slap together. We're spending a lot of time and resources on making the world look better. And that's what artists are for. And, you know, they're now getting the chance to really start to deliver on making our world look really good. Next, character sheet and inventory UI. So, yeah, boy, character sheet and inventory UI. Kind of necessary things for a real game. Work continues on that. Music system. So we don't get to talk a lot about what the DB does, but he's been busy adding in the concept of keys into WIs to support what he needs. Now, long and the short of this is that we want a system where you guys aren't getting bored, you know, with the music and the sound effects very quickly, where we can change things, where the music can adapt to the situation and do that as seamlessly as possible. Because again, we're not, or I should say again, because I haven't said this before, but because we're not a single player game, because we're not a game on rails, because, you know, what you do is not scripted in the sense of, well, we know you're going to move from point A to point B to point C to point D. We have to have a very flexible and powerful system. That's what, you know, we're in the process of building. Next, animation. So yeah, work continues with that. Andrew was had built out his Frankensteining tech. Hopefully Elsa Lanchester, you know, won't be too upset when she hears this, but, you know, Frankensteining tech is actually working, you know, really, really well. And so that has, you know, allowed him to move on to other things, and it also allows us to do stuff with it. So besides, you know, Andrew's code, we also rigged both the TDD and the Viking siege engines. We've rigged and imported new hair variations for testing. Not yet in the game, should be in soon. Worked on skirt and cape animations. I know how much you folks love capes. And we've begun work on knockback assets for future testing because we want knockback to look cool too. So number 14 and last on the list is the Seattle office. So they are now all up and running great. Everyone there wanted stand-up desks. So I guess we can say they're a stand-up bunch of guys and gals. I need Ed McMahon next to me for that one. But yeah, so their office is all set up, and yeah, it's great. You know, now we're like a real grown-up company, having 2 studios, very talented, very hard-working people, from almost as far as you could go in the U.S. On one coast, and us right in the mid-Atlantic. So yeah, look, again, a great week. Got so much done. As you folks can see, the pace is picking up, continues to pick up. If you've one of our IT folks, you've seen some of the new islands. Even if they're for testing, so you've seen that tech. And yeah, it's all good, folks. It really is. It's just, again, another really good week, and lots of new stuff going in, more stuff going in next week. We have a very full schedule, for the remaining, months till beta. Which, if people were wondering, wait, he said months till beta? Yes, he did. So for those because I know there was some speculation that, oh God, they won't be ready for beta until, at least a year from now. Yeah, no, not so much. I don't want to guarantee, because you never want to guarantee anything, but I have absolutely no expectations, like zero, that it would be anywhere near that long. So, yeah, months. And I think it's time to go to Q&A.
All right, so we're going to go into our Q&A portion of today's stream. So while you guys give me your questions, I'm going to play the Q&A intro.
Who are you?
Turn the stove off. Did I hear a dog?
Do you like my shirt?
When are this?
Is this my spleen?
Now it is time to answer some questions.
Go ahead.
Okay, so before I begin the Q&A, Max told me that during the stream there was some confusion about why I was happy about Improbable. Let me just say again, it's just another, even though it's not obviously our company, we're not even using their tech. It's just another validation with that kind of valuation that what we're doing here is kind of important. It's kind of the right thing. It's not, just a bunch of niche gamers supporting a niche product. We're building something, whether it's our tech or building a game, that is more than just that. And seeing, that kind of deal, seeing the excitement that is around us, just makes us even happier. Not only obviously, for the future in terms of, how we think it's going to go for this studio, but also for the engine. We I think have had more than our fair share of criticism as well, from both inside and outside, about the idea of a small team building its own engine. And well, what those guys did, even before they got their initial round, because they've been around even longer than us, and what we're doing, that just shows that, we did something smart. We did the right thing. We did something that other people, lots of intelligent people, think have value. And, the folks who invested in them, they're smart investors, so that, again, that makes me very, very happy, especially since I know what our tech can already do and what we'll be able to do, not only a year from now, but in, 3 years after that. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a good crazy. and you folks are going to be a part of it, which makes me happy as well.
Cool. All right. Well, to kick things off with questions, Odelvik asks, do you have a draft of the crafting doc to go along with the crafting test?
No, because that would just make things even more confusing. We do have a doc that we are writing, or a part of the testing doc that tells you what to do with the crafting system in the test. But the full crafting doc, no, because those are two very different things. What you're seeing now is, as we've been telling you folks for a year now, is just a / command based system that allows you guys to test various aspects of the crafting system, not the finished crafting system. One fallout of course, the / based command is that it's very easy, well, not very easy, but relatively easy, to train our bots how to do that. And that's going to happen in the future as well. We're going to have our bots, crafting like crazy to help stress test the system. Because that's part of what they're there for, to do the things that you folks can't do with the kind of numbers and for the amount of time that the bots can do it. We can run them 24/7, crafting and picking up and dropping and going through all the steps. And boy, there isn't a better way to do a stress test of an aspect of the game than that one.
Forced Chaos asks, any chance Beta 1 folks can run around if there's a test this weekend?
Probably not, but next week. If we have an alpha test this weekend, the beta folks will absolutely be able to get in next week, assuming that the test doesn't blow up. If the test blows up, then no, we won't let you beta 1 folks in yet. But if the test does go well, especially on the VFX system, I'd love to have you guys come in and take a look at it. We'll be very interested as well, depending on how solid we think we are in terms of VFX. People who are coming in with different cards. Right now we're supporting NVIDIA. We are spending a lot of time on that, though we haven't done a lot lately in terms of specific NVIDIA support. But one of the things in the doc that I wrote calls out AMD to get some special love before we go into Beta 1. So you folks who are coming in on either the new cards or even the older cards are going to get time from the engineers to make sure that we've done what we need to do to give you guys a good experience.
Horst Rudolph asks, will it be possible to write books?
Do you mean books for sharing or books for yourself only? Feel free to clarify, and I'll answer it.
Abducted Gaming asks, now that you have begun reviewing basic UI concepts, can you give us some details on your current ideas for how to best display player actions and effects in the UI?
Yeah, that's something. So UI is always a little bit controversial, and the thread on the forums about Seattle has been hijacked a little to become a UI thread. The only thing I'll say about that right now is don't panic. Please don't panic. Everything that you've seen so far is just a first pass. I know I say it a lot, and I apologize for having to say it a lot, but I'll say it again. Don't panic. Whatever we need to do, we're going to do to make the UI great. And this, it can devolve, of course, into a conversation of, well, the reason the UI has to be more complicated is because the wound system is complicated, the body part system is complicated. Please, folks, be patient, relax. If a UI concept isn't working, and we feel it isn't working, you folks feel it isn't working, we'll change it. We don't care. I said this, I think, last week as well. At the end of the day, as a designer, I don't give a damn. I really don't about what the final UI is in terms of my personal preference. I want the UI that is going to work for our backers. That is all I care about. I am not coming into this, no one here on the team is coming into this going, hey, we are going to have that kind of UI, that's it, period. I don't care. They don't care. We're just going to design, try different things, and come up, we hope, with something that kicks ass, because that's what's important. So that's hopefully an answer of your question.
Krakatoa Crazy Crafter asks, will the TDD be able to grow a beard?
I haven't even thought about that, quite frankly. Yeah, I actually don't know. So good one.
Batch file gaming. Even though there are no actual levels, will there be a certain max power point?
No, we've talked about this really from day one, is that we soft cap whenever possible. There will be a limit. We have talked about, for example, in terms of how many skills you could max out, but things like your stats and other things, you will be able to continue to level them. So there isn't a hard cap where we say, hey, you can't raise your stats anymore, or you can't raise your skills anymore. You know, you may not be able to, you won't be able to take all skills, you know, to max power, because that would be silly, at least in this game. But there isn't, hey, when you hit this level, your stats don't advance, your skills don't advance, you can't get any more abilities, that sort of thing.
Briar C asks, will there be the ability to tax guilds, or the leader of the realm tax its people? That way we could use these funds to get material and build things that protect the realm.
Yeah, you can build a wall. Sorry, I just
Let's pretend.
couldn't resist. So would there be, it's just too easy, you know, would there be the possibility of taxing the game? Yeah, I've talked about that before. That is certainly something that can happen. It's one of the ways that, of course, you can both do something cool, which you suggest, gameplay-wise, where, you know, if you have a tax and even the citizens of the realm voted for a higher tax, that tax could be used by the realm for its defenses. And the other thing, of course, as always, this sort of thing has been a gold sink going back to the mud days. So yes, taxes are an absolute possibility. We hope it won't be necessary as a gold sink. Certainly that would mean that there is simply too much gold in the system, like duh. But hopefully we won't have to do it. But if we have to, yeah, I have absolutely no problem with that.
Man with no screen name, I see you trying to get me to sing Led Zeppelin. Spike Druid asks, so I know we will know soon, but can you give us 2 or 3 things that stick out as critical for the first 30 days of beta?
Oh, sure. Give me a moment, because there's more than 3 in my doc. So number 1, stability. And I know that seems kind of weird, right? Because we're an old school game, and you know, old school betas weren't all that solid or that stable. For us, it's important. It's crucial. We have showed you folks during Alpha that we can build really great tech. Yes, it's taking longer than we would have liked, but look how solid it is. Look how few crashes we've had, whether it's loaded with bots or bots and players. The tech is solid. We have to continue that. We're not going to have a beta that all it does is show you that we rushed the beta. You know, look, I'm paying refunds every day for people who've lost faith or patience. I'll continue to lose them. I don't like it. It kind of hurts, but we're not going to rush something out. That would be one of the greatest signs of disrespect that I could show you folks. You know, for those of you especially who backed us as founders, and you know, from obviously day one, you've been patient, the vast majority of you. So I can't repay that patience by rushing out something just so we can get fewer refunds or no refunds. So stability has to be there. Number 2, sieges. We want sieges to be fun. We want that to be something that you guys and gals actually enjoy doing. There'll be plenty of things in beta that you won't enjoy, because it's beta, it's testing. It's not, hey, we got into beta and we're just going to run around in the real game, because we've told you that this is an old school beta. But we want sieges to be important. And I'll hint at some big surprises that I think almost all of you, because there's always going to be one or two, are going to really like about what we're doing with sieges and defenses and walls and just the whole beta test cycle. I think you guys are going to really like it. If I'm wrong, please tell me, but I don't think I will be. Third thing that will stand out, the environment. When we started this Kickstarter, we told you folks not to get excited about how the game would look. We purposely played down that, not because we knew we could deliver on something that looked great as well as perform great, but simply because we wanted to set your expectations low, because really at the end of the day, it is less important to us than performance. On the other hand, we have been able to make great progress in making the game look, really good. It's not awesome yet, but it's going to get awfully close to that. A lot closer than I think the vast majority of you expected. So I think that's going to be something that's going to really stand out. It already is, as I'm running through the new environments and just smiling, because I know they're going to get even better. And seeing the particle effects finally being able to have a role in the game, that's going to make it look better. It's also going to allow guys like Mike, to make great effects for us for combat. And so, whether it's, hey, make the sky look better, or make the stars at night look better, or make the water look better, or, add, particle effects so leaves are falling, and, other things are happening within the forest. Those things are going to stand out as something different that I don't think you folks expected. And I've tried to stay away from things in the top three that would be absolutely expected from us. Like, we want, obviously, the game to be fun. Some of it has to be fun. Some of it won't be. We want a lot of it to be fun. We want the classes to be fun. But they may not be. We may find that, whether it's the body part system or other aspects of my, vision for some of this stuff was wrong. Oh well, we change it. It's going to be an interesting time. I think you folks, at least the majority of you, are going to be very happy with what is going to evolve over the course of Beta 1.
Okay.
And hang on, and that's something also I want to emphasize. We keep a lot of people, including us at times, will say beta. Remember, this is only Beta 1, folks. This is not, oh look, hey, we're finished. We're almost finished. This is the beginning of the multi-step beta process. For those who were in Dark Age of Camelot's beta, you know that we did the same thing back then. So keep in mind, this is just the opening of Beta 1.
All right. Docile Pishoff asks, will explosions be able to create a black area on the ground?
We actually haven't talked about that yet. How we change the terrain, whether it's by explosions, whether it's by spells, is certainly something that we want to do. It's just a question of how far we'll be able to go with it for the opening of Beta 1. But certainly we would love to be able to have that. We'd love to have the ability of certain magics affecting the ground. So whether it's mud, whether it's other things that can limit players' movement, that's all stuff we've talked about as things we want to have. We'll just have to see where we can go with it with the live game. Now, the beauty, of course, of a procedurally generated terrain system is that it does allow us to make some very powerful changes in theory while the game is running. And part of what we have been working on, and you'll see in the top 10-ish, is when we talk about terrain changes due to realm changes. And that's just one aspect of what we could do with this engine that will set us apart, and we'll be able to do more. It's just a question of when.
Horst Rudolph asks, will it be possible to inscribe text into blocks for statues, for example?
Oh, did he mean blocks and not books? Because he also asked about books.
Maybe.
Oh, so in terms of blocks, yes, we'd love to be able to do that. We haven't talked about it, but it's something that, whether it's blocks or certainly in items, the ability to inscribe things is certainly something that we have said we wanted to have in the game.
Odilvik asks, will body parts be obscured to enemies that aren't yet engaged to prevent sniping of nearly dead body parts in the battlefield by archers, etc.?
Sniping is fine. I'm not. So if you're asking, hey, if you're turned to the side, will you be able to snipe at a person? So if somebody's turned to the side to you, will you be able to hit somebody from the distance on the side that is obscured by their body or other things? Obviously, when you have a system like ours where projectiles travel and are not, just spells that always hit, then that sort of sniping is, obviously dependent on whether the person actually turns that body part towards you, because you won't be able to simply select the arm and guarantee that it's always going to hit the arm. It's a projectile. So, not sure if that answers your question. Let me know if it doesn't, please.
Zarfe asks, are there any race-based passives which give some buffs?
Will there be buffs from race-based passives for Beta 1? I'd have to ask Ben because I don't remember the whole list. But there will be, yes. Maybe not for Beta 1, but there will be, for live. Race-based passives is one of the things that sets apart the races. So, yes.
Dashoka asks, I'm not sure if this has been asked before, but will crafters be able to work on more than one item or project at a time?
Yeah, we've talked about that. So the real question is, and this is something that we've been, discussing, now for years, is how many crafters are we really going to have? We think and we hope we have a large number. If we don't have that kind of a number, we will certainly be very happy to give crafters the ability, or the Vox the ability, to always do more than one thing. That isn't hard. It's just a decision we have to make, or we can make it really any point in time during the game's development or lifetime. We certainly do not want the players to be able to craft a lot of high-level, even 2 or 3 high-level items at the same time. I mean, that would be very bad. On the other hand, can we and will we be able to set up the Vox that maybe it can do multiple lower-level things at the same time? Absolutely. That's not a technical limitation. It really is a design call that is going to be based on the number of crafters we have. Because we have to make sure that there are enough crafters, to support the players or the combatants with gear. So if we have less than we would like, then we'll certainly up the ability of the Vox to allow the current crafters to create items either faster or at the same time.
Blackens asks, how far along is the Back to Life doc? I don't know what that is. I was hoping you do.
Have I ever talked about a Back to Life doc? Fill me in, because I don't remember that. If you mean rezzing, there is no rezzing. I don't think I ever talked about a rezzing doc.
Fill us in, Blackens.
Yeah, ask Chad if anyone knows, because I'm blanking on the Back to Life doc.
All right. Let's see. G. Monty asks, will there be a PvP server similar to the one that was in Dayak, not meaning RVR?
Yeah, you mean a free-for-all. That's up to you folks. We've talked about that as well since the beginning of the Kickstarter. If there is demand for the equivalent of a dread, we're willing to do it.
Abducted Gaming asks, since CU uses a much more complex crafting system without set recipes to help them track exactly what resources they need for making items, and since CU allows for refinement in other activities that alter the end product, what sort of user interface ideas do you have for helping players keep track of their crafting, the resources they need, and the resources they have available?
Yeah, that's kind of huge. And to be very clear, we're not a totally non-recipe based game, because you have to be able to do some recipe based stuff as well as non-recipe based stuff. Example, of course, is building a sword. You do have to have a recipe for, okay, hey, if you're building the hilt and you're building a blade, you actually can, build a sword, as opposed to, a non-recipe where you would be drawing the item, or some of the other things that we've seen some games try. The real question is how far, are we going to go with the UI to support the crafters? And I cannot tell you enough how important that is to me. We actually had a discussion about that, a whiteboard discussion about that this week, with JB and AJ and Ben, about what we need to do in the first pass of the inventory system, as well as future versions of the inventory system to support the crafters. Because you guys are going to be the biggest pain in the ass. I mean, you just are. You're going to have so many materials. We have to make a great system to support it. The combatants aren't going to be doing that. They don't have to worry about all the things you guys are going to have to do. Therefore, we have to really support you, because as you said, we're making a complex friggin' system. And, it would be terrible to make a complex system and then go, hey, we've got a crappy UI, good luck. No, yeah, that would be bad. We're going to have a very complex, crafting system, obviously, and we need a very supportive UI, for that, whether an inventory system, whether it's the interface for the Vox. If you guys and gals who craft think every time you go into the UI to craft an item like, oh, this is just painful, then you won't do it, and you won't be a crafter. Complexity is not introduced by making something difficult to use. That's a cheat. Complexity should be the system, not the mechanism you use to make the system work. So, yes, don't worry about it. That is already one of our focuses, even though all we have is a /base command, right now. So, no worries on that end. That is going to get all the resources it needs to make it great, because it's crucial. It might not seem that way to some people, but it's absolutely crucial to this game. If the UI sucks, if the inventory system sucks, then we won't have very much luck with our crafters, and that would be very bad for the game.
Horst Rudolph has a clarification about books. Will it be possible to write books for taking notes or for managing a shop, for example?
Yes, very much. I would like that. That's great. I would very much like to make that happen. I think that whether it's writing notes for yourself or potentially for other people as well, I would like to do some interesting things with that. Because frankly, in the scheme of the technical challenges we're facing, that wouldn't count as a really huge one. So yes, we'd very much like to have that for you, as well as for other people to enjoy. What was it from The Hobbit? There and Back Again.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd love for you to be able to do that, Horst Rudolph.
All right. Helzik has a funny question. Are you telling us not to panic so we're unprepared for the implementation of panic rating?
Good one. Yeah, no, not so much. Just telling you guys not to panic about anything or to get too worked up. Certainly on the forums, if you think, oh, this UI can work, can't work, body parts can work, can't work. panic about that is pointless, mainly because you're talking to a developer who's saying right now, again, that everything that's in there, when it comes to those sorts of things, can be changed. And it won't be changed, as one of you suggested, is Mark going to react just to people on the forum? No, you folks should know me by now. If I was willing to do that, we would have rolled over on some things already. But we know, what the forums are good for and what it's not good for. We love the people who talk there. We love the comments, especially when they're, well thought out and, polite. But we also know that that's not all of our backers, and we also know that until you actually get to play with this stuff, and we see how, sieges and other things go, we won't know really how it works, not until well after then. So expect there to be changes, expect there to be, I don't know if we'll have whoops, where that was a total foobar, but there'll be things that we will just, try and go, yeah, not so much. And we'll change it. So that's why don't panic.
Das L. Pishoff asks, will we be able to swim in Beta 1 someday? Or is that for Beta 2 or 3?
Don't know. I certainly would like swimming in during Beta 1, not at launch for Beta 1, but during Beta 1, because that, means some other systems have to also be in and working, like, again, water that doesn't kill you. The ability to swim between islands, potentially, or swim, between servers, I should say, because you can actually fake islands and swimming between them and saying, oh, look, they're actually on one server, but they look like they're on two servers. But we wouldn't do that. That's certainly not the way we operate. But yes, I would very much like to have that in sometime, during Beta 1. And expect drowning in armor to be a thing, too.
Ooh. Spike Druid asks, often in Norse mythology, dwarves are considered a form of elf. Can you confirm or deny if the Dvergar are really elves in disguise?
No. Yeah, and yes, I've read the same thing. They think it was, if I remember correctly, a mistranslation by one of the original, the guy who translated all the number of the poetic letters. But yeah, no, they are not related. They did not diverge, off the same family tree. They are dwarves. They are the race that so many of us love from other games, from other lore. They're just our version of them.
Blackens says he did get his. They did get their question clarified. They meant a dock on spawn points, among other things. Please pardon me if there isn't such a dock at the moment. Bad Lunar Rising on the YouTube chat asks, will we be able to build with ice as a building medium in winter regions?
So that is a really great question. So, building with elements that can be magically, conjured is one thing. Building with ice that could be cut, out of ice blocks, that's certainly nothing we've looked at. It would be so cool. I think that would be awesome. But we don't have plans for that right now.
Should we give a 5-minute warning for questions?
Yes,
and then
we should.
Go to opening gifts?
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely. Are those all gifts?
I believe they're all part of the same thing, but
Oh, cool.
we'll have to open them and see.
Okay, cool. Yeah, one of these days, this has been another one of those days where I've been heads down. So I have absolutely no idea what's in the box.
They've been arriving throughout the week.
It's been a good week.
Yeah. All right, so 5-minute warning for the questions, folks. And as always, you can always try to ask on the forums if we don't answer it today. Odilvik asks, could we see important NPCs being kidnapped, such as relatives of the king, and needing to be rescued?
Yeah, see, the problem with that, and it's a great question, is if we start doing things like that, are we getting close to questing, PvE, dailies, that sort of thing. So that's certainly something that would be cool, certainly something that could fit within the game. But that's something I'd rather think about down the road rather than now. But it's a great question.
Speaking of down the road, Batchfile Gaming asks, will there be expansions that are just added to the game, or will you have to buy the eventual expansions?
Both. We've talked about extender packs and expansion packs, and that's why we use the different term. Extender packs come to every backer. They come at no additional charge. It is simply part of your subscription, part of being a player. Then there are expansion packs where we set out to do something that hasn't been paid for, essentially, that we would charge for. So, that's the plan. We think expansion packs can certainly be useful, but we're focusing, as you folks have already seen from our stretch goals, once again, we're not focusing on monetizing you guys, to the nth degree, unfortunately, as some games do. So we'd rather focus on extenders now and not worry about expansions until down the road with the game.
Deathwatch 101 asks, will there be any mechanics to stop snowballing once a faction becomes dominating on a server?
Sure, that's important as well. At the end of the day, you can't stop it entirely. You have to try to do things to slow it down and maybe hope the balance changes. So that's what we're going to do. Certainly, we've done things, like in Dark Age, and I'll do things as well here. It's not something we want to see happen, but we'll do our best. I wish I could say we could guarantee it won't happen, but there's no way to guarantee it.
Chris Velnor asks, for the crafting test, you said you had a bunch of nodes in, but how many alloys have you already put into the build, and will we be only able to craft basic stuff still, or did you add more items to craft?
We've only added wood, but we haven't added a lot of other things yet. That's all coming, on a week-by-week, or at least bi-week-by-week basis, as we add more things. Remember, we're still in alpha, so we're doing this, this is all happening real time. But yeah, you're going to have a lot more things over the coming, certainly, months to craft.
Oh, Odelvik has a clarification for the body parts obscured question.
Good.
I meant, will the current damage status be hidden from enemies until they actually engage the player to prevent tabbing through enemies looking for easy kills?
Yeah, got it. We'll see about that. We'll see where we can go with, making the UI, making a UI that can do just as you described. Because yes, it certainly can make sense that if you can't see somebody, you shouldn't be able to tab target them. But whether that will be ready for beta 1, I cannot say. Maybe because honestly, I don't know.
Well, here's a question I haven't seen before. Docile Pishoff asks, will we be able to color blocks or change blocks without destabilization of the building?
That's an interesting question. I would assume from a technical standpoint the answer is yes, because I haven't actually thought about that. I've always been focused on, hey, you build a block a certain way. Technically, I don't think it would be an issue, so we'll see. Good question.
All right. Shall we go to opening gifts, or?
No, look for one more.
Look for one more, okay.
That was a crafter question. Now let's go to a combatant question.
Well, I love this one. The man with no screen name asks, since we only have kites at this moment, what's dragging your heels on drakes, worms, and other flying, fire-breathing creatures of myth?
Okay, good one. So in terms of dragons, what I've said before about them is that you don't want to meet any one of our real dragons, the ones from, the lore, up close and personal. He makes Smog look like a little kid. This is not, those dragons are not the things you guys will ever be hunting. because you don't hunt them, just like the old joke in Soviet Russia. So in CU, players don't hunt dragons. Dragons hunt players. That's a good way to end it. Thank you, man. Thank you, man.
Excellent.
That was awesome.
All right. Well,
I like that. We're gonna have to write that down. In CU, you don't hunt dragons. Dragons hunt you. That's really cool. All right, let's see what we got.
so I believe these are from Poxer.
Another thing from Boxer?
Another thing from Poxer.
Boxer. Okay, so fragile, handle with care.
Little cups,
Yes.
little mugs.
Mugs and plates, or just mugs? No,
Okay.
mugs and plates. 6 cups, 6 saucers.
Interesting.
Thank you. Somebody peeked.
I think that was Tyler.
Tyler peeked. I didn't. I don't want to peek. I like surprises.
No, Lily Ora, that's a bad idea. Don't do that.
Oh, well, this gives it away. Coffee Express.
Oh, espresso.
Espresso.
And various flavors.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Is it what I think it is?
It's an espresso machine.
Awesome. Espresso and cappuccino.
And
maker.
cappuccino.
Wow. Thank you, Poxer.
Poxer, this is like awesome. This is really, do you see? Well, I think you peeked already.
I'm rolling it off camera because you should mention that several people in the office did not believe me when I said we might have something really cool come in, that it was going to be something around coffee. And they started theorizing, like, oh, what's it going to be? What's me? And then everybody didn't believe that it could be an espresso machine.
So
Everybody's
Poxer,
very excited.
Poxer, thank you so much. This is really cool. We've said this before. I've said this before. We've said it before. We have just a great group of backers. This has been, at some point, some people have pointed out, this has been 4 years since the Kickstarter, which it has. Not obviously since we started working on the game. We still have 6 months. Well, 5 months. No, 6 months. Before we hit that, milestone. But you folks have been really patient. You guys and gals have been, just wonderful about, at least the vast majority of you, about supporting us. And not supporting us by, giving us more money or upping pledges or the other things that some studios do to, get as much money out of each, backer as you can. But just, again, being patient, letting us do our job, sending us lovely gifts like this, sending us really nice notes of support, like when Lady J, had her bout of cancer. You guys and gals have been just awesome. And that's one reason, why I'll always do what I've done so far with you folks, is give it right back to you with our support, with our single-minded dedication to making this game. We've said right from the beginning, we're not working on any other game. We're, at least computer game, obviously the board game, but that is mostly Max working his tail off, on that.
Do my best.
This is we're doing this because not only it's the right thing to do, but it's especially the right thing to do for you backers. And I couldn't be any more grateful than I think I am, and I certainly think I and the whole studio also try to be quite gracious when it comes to how we react, interact, deal, talk, chat, text, and hopefully never spam information with you guys. You folks are awesome. As always, we thank you for your support. Poxer, we thank you for the cappuccino and espresso machine. I'm going to take advantage of the espresso part, I guarantee you. If you folks hear any stories about an overcaffeinated team, Poxer, since I haven't revealed your real name, there won't be any liability there. Don't worry. But we're going to enjoy this very much. And since I'm one of those idiots who goes into Starbucks and will order, a Trenta or a Venti coffee with 3 shots, this is going to be really good. So that's it, folks. I'll let you know in an update or in a separate email about any testing this weekend. Based on what I know as of now, we should be able to have 1 test, but no promises. Though if not this week, we're looking pretty good right now for next week, unless something rears its ugly head. We have a lot of stuff going into this game. We've had a lot of stuff going into the game, not just the build, in the last couple weeks. And as always, that results in us having to spend a bit more time to get it right. The IT folks know that things have been changing, and sometimes changing rapidly. So if we don't have a test, please accept my apologies. It won't be much longer, but I am hoping we'll have at least 1 test this week and multiple tests next week, including getting your beta 1 folks in to see the VFX island that Tyler is building just for that purpose. So that's it from us. As always, we thank you for your support. We thank you for your patience, and of course your cappuccino machine. And hopefully I'll see you folks in the game. God, it's so nice to be able to say in the game. See you in the game this weekend. Have a great weekend, folks.
See you later.